65% of the milk in India is adulterated.
What does that mean? What could be inside milk?
So it's done with different things. If you go to eat sandwiches on the road and they are putting cheese and butter, how can they afford it at the prices they're selling it? That's not cheese.
I've been shocked to see in India what we are doing to cows, and we claim to be a cow-loving country, but we happen to be one of the biggest exporters of beef and leather in the world, which is shocking, and that is completely linked to the dairy industry.
Most diseases that we face today, usually when we go to the doctor, the only thing they can do is give us medicines to remove symptoms. Nobody gets cured of diabetes or hypertension or heart disease or cancer or anything by going to the doctor. The biggest cause of disease in the world is fat. Where is the fat coming from? Oil, ghee, butter, it's all animal products. Plants can also have fat like peanuts and coconut, cashew nuts and so on. But the difference is that they have.
So Dr. Nandita, thank you so much for joining me on Kindness with Amy. I'm so excited to have you here. You are a renowned doctor, and I've seen you on so many documentaries, and I follow you online, and I would love you to share with my listeners a little bit about how you got into plant-based living and why you're so passionate about it as a doctor.
Okay. I got into plant-based living just because I was vegetarian and I heard about the cruelty in the dairy industry, and I was so shocked, and I knew that I had to let go of dairy. It wasn't easy because I was an addict of dairy like most of us are.
Right.
But I just couldn't keep having dairy. So I got rid of it. But being a doctor, when I let go of dairy, I realized the huge impact it made on my health.
Right.
And I started reading the impact on health because I grew up thinking, like many of us do, that you need protein, you need milk for protein as a vegetarian, and you need milk for calcium and other things. And I really thought that milk was a health food. And I was always interested in health, so I used to consume a lot of dairy.
Wow. So as a doctor, do you recommend patients to be on a meat-eating diet or on a vegan diet?
No, I'm helping people understand how switching to a completely whole food plant-based diet can help reverse their diseases. And my goal is to get the reversal in a short period of time.
My question is, if people are going onto plant-based diets to reverse diseases, then if they were just on plant-based diets to begin with, they wouldn't get those diseases.
Absolutely, but most of them don't know that. And most, we work to educate people. So obviously the people who are already vegan don't come to us, but we get fabulous results with reversing lifestyle diseases. I mean, diseases that nobody else can really work with. So because we get fabulous results, people come to us expecting those results. And obviously, most of them are not plant-based to start with if they want to reverse diseases, right?
So can somebody reverse cancer or reverse diabetes by going on a plant-based diet?
So, I've written the book Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days. And obviously, I wouldn't write that if I didn't think so. So, actually, diabetes is a lifestyle disease. As you can imagine, it's because of our lifestyle. And if we change our lifestyle, you can reverse it. And I conduct a 21-day health retreat, which is where the name of the book came from. And 21 days because it takes 21 days to change a habit. Because obviously you can't go back to the old habit once you reverse the disease. Otherwise, it won't stay, right? So this is to help them get ingrained in a new lifestyle so that they can reverse diseases. And in our 21-day retreat, we often reverse diabetes in that short period of time. Like, I just came back from our 21-day retreat, and there was one person who had come from Muscat, and he was on 3 different medicines for diabetes. And he was off all the medicines midway during the program.
Wow.
And he got amazing results.
Because usually when people get diabetes, the doctors will load them up with all sorts of, like my friend has diabetes actually, and the doctor has given him so many medications and pills that he has to have every day and all this stuff. And I just find it shocking. I'm like, surely this is, as you say, a lifestyle disease.
Right.
Surely it can be reversed. So what is the correlation between animal products and diabetes?
Most diseases that we face today, whether it's cancer or diabetes, cancer, of course, has many more causes. But usually when we go to the doctors, the only thing they can do is give us medicines to remove symptoms.
Sure.
So the medicine removes the symptom on a day-to-day basis, right? People never get cured. Nobody gets cured of diabetes or hypertension or heart disease or cancer or anything by going to the doctor. It's only the body that can heal. So, and I'll just come back to cancer soon. So, going back to diabetes, people go to the doctor and doctor tells them to cut down carbohydrates and sugars and nobody gets better. Right? Like, people go to the doctor for diabetes and they cut down all this and they take medicine and they don't get well. Like, I wonder, why do people go to a doctor that nobody has helped? And the reason we do it is because everyone does it. We're not thinking.
Yeah.
Right? So if we want to get rid of diseases, we have to think of what is the cause of the disease and remove that. If you want to get rid of diabetes, you have to think, what is the cause of diabetes and remove it. If you want to get rid of cancer, what is the cause of cancer? Now, I don't have time to tell you all of that, but we do that with our patients. But if you think about it, the biggest cause of disease in the world is fat.
Right.
Fat can cause obesity. Fat in the muscle cells causes insulin resistance. Fat in the arteries causes high blood pressure and heart disease, and so on. There's reason why it also causes cancer, but cancer has many causes. So, where is the fat coming from? Oil, ghee, butter, as well as all animal products. Like if you boil fish or chicken or meat or milk, you get fat on top. And that's not all the fat. It's not like you can just boil out the fat and eat the product. So when we are consuming this, we're consuming things which make us sick. And when we consume plants can also have fat, like peanuts and coconut and avocado and cashew nuts and so on. But the difference is that they have fiber. And fiber holds on to the fat. So if you boil peanuts or coconut or cashews, you don't get fat on top. And that's the same in our body. Like the fat will not separate and go straight into the bloodstream and thicken the blood and cause all the complications that it does. And so we teach people how to cook without fats. And we also teach them how to cook without meat and dairy so that they can be really healthy for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, do you believe that the human body is physically designed to consume meat and dairy?
Absolutely not. We've been told that we're omnivores. But if you think about it, every animal eats according to instinct.
Yeah.
And we are out of touch with our instincts because our parents teach us what to eat, and our parents are taught by society and culture and advertisements, right? So if we want to figure out what to eat, really, like what did nature or God expect us to eat, then if we go on a farm and think about, like if you see fruits and vegetables growing, you feel like picking them.
Of course.
That's instinctive.
Yeah.
But if you see a chicken walk by or a goat or a cow, our mouth doesn't water because it's not our food. We can't pounce on it, tear it apart and eat it whole and raw like a true omnivore can. So eating foods that are not meant for us It's like giving a cow meat or a lion grass, or it's like putting diesel in a car that runs on petrol. We have to get sick. And eating the wrong food will make everyone sick at some point in their life. And that's what happens, right? So we have to turn that around and help people understand what is a natural diet. And the best part is that when people eat the foods that they were designed to eat, they automatically like it because it was instinctive that they've lost, right? So after a while of changing your diet, you don't want to go back to the old diet. And automatically you stay healthy.
It's interesting when you talk about what comes instinctually, like as per our instincts, because, whenever people are talking to me about what's natural, the natural way of eating as a human, immediately people will talk about, but humans have canines. And I'm thinking, hang on, but the world's biggest herbivore also has giant canines, which is the hippopotamus. Though, like when we start breaking things down biologically, it becomes very evident that our bodies are physically designed to run in an optimum way on plant-based foods rather than animal-based foods.
Yeah, I mean, our bodies have a lot of reserves.
Right.
Like we have 2 kidneys, we can do with one. We have 2 lungs, we can live on one. We have a large liver, and even if half of it is destroyed, we can live. And so on. Until our arteries are 70% blocked, we don't have problems. So nature has given us reserves. That's how we get by for so many years. But a point will come when putting the wrong fuel in your body cannot cope with it anymore.
It's why we can see these correlations, man. Like, for example, countries or areas that tend to consume the highest amount of dairy tend to have ailments relating to highest incidences of osteoporosis or diabetes or, as you said, these lifestyle
and if
diseases.
you think about it, every mammal produces milk only for her young. And no animal in nature drinks another animal's milk. Like pigs don't drink goat's milk and monkeys don't drink elephant milk. So when we drink another animal's milk, and that to drink milk or consume dairy after infancy, there's a big issue, right? It's wrong food. And, even if you think instinctively, every child loves their mother's milk. They don't want to leave their mother's milk. But when you first give them cow's milk, nobody appreciates it.
Yeah.
So, there are additives for milk in the market, like or whatever. So many different things which have sugar or cocoa, so that you have to run around the child less in order to make them drink. And eventually, sugar is addictive and milk is also addictive. And after a while, we're so addicted to it that we can't leave it easily.
It's funny with milk because just on a very basic common sense level, as an adult, I don't feel compelled to want to drink my mother's breast now. Like,
Right.
why would I feel inclined to that? So it doesn't make sense that anyone is advocating to have the milk from a cow,
Right.
which is obviously designed for its child.
Right.
And we are not baby cows. So just on a very logical level, like it just does not make sense. We are going against nature by consuming cow's milk. Right. And as a result, I've been shocked to see in India what we are doing to cows. And we claim to be a cow-loving country, but we happen to be one of the biggest exporters of beef and leather in the world, which is shocking. And that is completely linked to the dairy industry. If people think that they're drinking milk and it's vegetarian, technically it's not. You're supporting the death of cows and buffaloes. So
Right.
it's the whole system is absolutely shocking.
It's a whole unnatural way of eating and living.
Yeah.
And our consumption of dairy is growing every year as well. Because you can imagine, like, just 70 years ago, refrigeration was rare. So the amount of dairy that anyone could consume was very limited. The amount of dairy we consume now has multiplied many-fold compared to just 70 years ago, right?
So, ma'am, why do doctors and dietitians recommend to people to have meat and dairy as a source of protein and calcium? I have many people come to me who are like, oh, my doctor said that, I should have meat for protein, I should have dairy for calcium. Why is there such a stigma around this?
Because, first of all, doctors are not taught anything about nutrition.
Okay.
And I mean, they do have some few hours of nutrition in the whole 5-year curriculum, but it doesn't really pertain to how much protein you need or anything like that. It talks about, different kinds of nutrients like proteins, carbohydrates, what are carbohydrates, what are proteins, things like that. So they get their information, nutritional information, from the same place that you do, which is society and culture and advertisements. So if you go to China, they may say that you need certain things to cure certain diseases. And in India, they may say something else. And if you go, in India, they might say have milk. And in Europe, they might say have chicken soup. But none of it makes sense because it's cultural, right? So we need to go back to understanding what is our body telling us and listen to our body in order to heal. And, we've been told that we need more protein, and we think that protein comes from animal products. But honestly, the only manufacturers of protein are plants.
Because where do animals get their protein from?
Yeah, where do animals get their protein from? And we can get our protein from the same place that horses, cows, or elephants get their protein. And honestly, it'll be a better quality of protein because it's linked with fiber. Plant protein always has fiber. And it's also not full of fat like animal protein, right? So linked with fiber, not full of fat. It makes a huge difference to our state of well-being. And people think that more protein is better. But if you think about it, very few people know somebody with protein deficiency. It's protein excess that causes disease. And so now coming back to cancer, people don't know that protein is a food for growth and repair. Protein is the food for growth and repair, and cancer is a growth. The reason cancers have skyrocketed is because our consumption of protein has skyrocketed.
Oh, wow.
And the other big cause of cancers increasing are chemicals. We're spraying our food with poison, as in pesticide, so that other animals don't eat it. And other animals are smart enough and we are consuming it, right? So, and we all also know that chemicals are carcinogens. And today, so many people have hormonal problems, and animal products are full of hormones. So, animal products are actually hormone disruptors. Chemicals are hormone disruptors. And so we have so much hormonal diseases like diabetes and hypothyroidism and PCOD and premature puberty and infertility. India was a country of overfertility, and now we have infertility.
Wow. Do you think if the world went vegan, that we would eradicate most of the health problems globally?
I'm sure we would. But how will the whole world go vegan is a question I have in my mind. Because
hypothetically, I mean, let's say.
Oh, yeah, sure. We will eradicate most, not all, but most of the diseases. Like animals in nature don't suffer from so many diseases that we do, just because they're eating foods that are natural to them.
So when we go against nature, essentially we are harming our bodies and causing these lifestyle diseases.
Absolutely. And also climate change. Like the main cause of climate change is what we're putting in our bodies.
So, ma'am, what would you say are the main reasons why someone should not be drinking cow's milk?
Cow's milk is bad for so many reasons. Number one, it's full of fat. Fat is the cause of many diseases. Number two, it's protein, which in our body breaks down into amino acids. It's acidic. Our body is alkaline. So when we consume something that's acidic, it has to be neutralized. And it's neutralized by taking calcium out of the bones, which is why people who have been on dairy their entire lives have osteoporosis. Number three, the biggest consumer of antibiotics in the world is animals in our food chain. So 80% of the antibiotics produced in the world go to animals in our food chain. So when we consume dairy, we're actually consuming antibiotics, which is resulting in antibiotic resistance. Also, the highest incidence of pesticides is not in plants. It's in milk or in animal products, because the animal has to eat so much plant. For example, 12 kilos of grain could produce 1 liter of milk. So the pesticides are concentrated. So there are so many reasons. There are more reasons as well. Only animal products are full of cholesterol. There's no cholesterol in plants. So all these reasons are good reasons to give up animal products, because if we do, we won't get sick.
So if somebody wants to give up drinking milk, what are some affordable alternatives that's available to them that has high protein and meets their nutritional needs?
First of all, we have to understand that nobody needs milk after infancy. And so you don't need to have packaged plant-based milk or any milk. That milk can be had only for taste if you need it, but you don't have to have milk.
I guess if we talk about like culturally, right? Because we're so used to having chai in the morning, we're so used to having things that include milk, right? Like cereal with milk, all these things. So if somebody is looking for a replacement so that they are not missing out in life socially or culturally, what type of milk is healthy to have? Because there's so many opinions online. Ki oat milk is bad, soy milk is bad, this is bad, that is bad.
Oh, well, none of them are bad.
Okay.
What is oat milk? Oats and water. What is soy milk? Soybeans cooked with water and sieved, right? So none of them are bad. They're not even milk. They're just something plus water, some edible substance.
Juice of beans
plus
or nuts,
water.
basically.
Yeah, nothing is harmful in them. The only reason that they could turn harmful is because they're packaged with a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah.
And so if anyone wants to choose a milk, they should look at the ingredients and choose the one with the minimum chemicals. We have a website, sharan-india.org, and we have 600 recipes, and we have a meat and dairy section where you can produce your own dairy, and it hardly takes time if you really want to. Like, it takes no time to make almond milk, cashew milk, oat milk, etc. And if you want to do it really fast in any short moment, you can just take a spoonful of almond butter and blend it with water, and you've got almond milk.
Really?
Yeah, so you don't need to go for all these long procedures and expensive ones. So you can, there are ways to make plant-based milk really cheap. I mean, a handful of soya beans will make a liter of milk. So
oh, wow, I didn't know that.
It's not difficult to,
Wow.
and it's not expensive.
Yeah.
The reason it's expensive in the market, truly everyone wants to bring down the price. But it's about advertising, distribution, etc. Everyone's used to having milk, and so you don't need to advertise too much to sell milk, but you would need to advertise to sell oat milk or almond milk.
Of course.
And then all that separate packaging and shelf life and all that. That's what kills the manufacturers.
And
that's why the
milk has
prices
got
are high.
huge subsidies, ma'am, through government.
Absolutely.
So they can sell it for 50 rupees a litre because they don't have to pay, so much more than a plant-based milk would have to pay.
True.
So,
and we have to remember that dairy costs a lot, because you have to feed all that plant to the cows in order to get the milk. And that's why 65% of the milk in India is adulterated. So we shouldn't forget that, because when we're consuming milk, we may be consuming lots of things we don't expect.
What does that mean? What could be inside milk?
So it's done with different things. For example, milk foams, So what they do is they take a little bit of shampoo and some sugar and a little bit of milk powder and oil, and they blend it together and add water to it. And you can make even milk sweets out of it, just because nobody will know the difference. We think that we are eating good food, but honestly, half the ghee produced in India, and I might be wrong with the quantity, I'm not saying half is the number, but a lot of the ghee produced in India is just slaughterhouse animal fat boiled down, because it's the same thing. Or, for example, if you go to eat sandwiches on the road, and they're putting cheese and butter, how can they afford it at the prices they're selling it? That's not cheese. That's animal fat with a bit of cheese to give the flavor. So, animal fat gives that, like cheese is essentially animal fat, right? Cheese is 70% fat. I mean, you can make substitutes for it with cheap substitutes just by using animal fat, and there's a lot of it left over in the slaughterhouses.
Wow. So, ma'am, tell me about mock meats, plant-based meat. Recently, I was talking to someone and they were telling me how their dietitian told them that it's better if they have real meat instead of having plant-based meat, because plant-based meat is processed and it's full of chemicals. So what is your view on plant-based meat?
So first of all, we shouldn't think like this, because the real meat has hormones. It has chemicals because the animal has been eating something. Many times the animals are grazing in garbage dumps. And so there's even PCBs, the breakdown of plastic in animal products, So there's a lot of things that we don't want. Actually, animals are fed mostly waste food. Like, for example, when they go trawling for fish, they get so much bycatch, 70% of what they catch is not what humans eat. So all this, plus slaughterhouse waste, goes to a rendering plant, and it's dried up and fed to animals in our food chain. And so whatever goes in there is coming back to us double, because now, those chemicals are concentrated. And so real meat today has so many things, plus free radicals, plus cholesterol. Remember, cholesterol is never found in plants, and lack of fiber, and of course, a lot of fat. Now, if you go to plant-based meats, in order to make them taste like real meats, they may be adding things. They're adding fat, which is not good for us, and they might be adding some flavorings and colors, and so these are chemicals too. So you have to compare, like, is it worse to have all these hormones, chemicals, antibiotics, everything else from real animals, or have plant-based food with some chemicals? And, we never recommend even ready-made plant-based meats, just because they're not healthy. And so we help people make their own meats. We have recipes for that. But I have to say, it may not taste exactly like meat, like the plant-based, the ready-made plant-based versions do. So it's a choice, like, is it worth putting that garbage in our body?
Let me read you out the ingredients of a Beyond Burger. Okay, you tell me if it's like terrible to have.
Right.
Okay. So this is the ingredients for a plant-based burger, which is the Beyond Burger. Okay. And there's a lot of content creators online that are saying that this is so bad for you, this is terrible for you, it's very, very unhealthy. You should be having animal-based meat instead of having this. So let me tell you the ingredients. Water, yellow pea protein, avocado oil, natural flavors, brown rice protein, red lentil protein, methyl cellulose. What is methyl cellulose? Is that bad for you?
I don't think that's bad for you.
Okay. I don't know what that is. I don't know what methyl cellulose.
Cellulose is the part, it's the fibrous part of plants that we can't digest.
Okay.
So it's in plants anyway. It's good. It's nothing too
Acha.
harmful.
Okay. Potato starch, pea starch, potassium lactate. What's that?
So that's kind of a chemical. You know, excess potassium is bad for us.
Okay. It's saying that there's potassium lactate to preserve freshness.
Correct.
So that would be something they put in packaged things. Okay.
So, you know, there's always a little, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's nothing
Like, this is
compared
not
to
going
the
to harm
animal
you.
products.
Like
Yes.
these levels: faba bean protein, apple extract, pomegranate concentrate, potassium salt, spice, vinegar, and vegetable juice color with beetroot.
Yeah.
That's the ingredients. Now you compare that to like a beef burger, which, as you're saying, is full of antibiotics and other chemicals, and plus the whatever
True.
things they've fed
And you
the
know,
animal.
this may not even have genetically modified food, but
Yeah.
animals are fed genetically modified foods,
Yeah.
mostly GM soya, and that's coming back to us through the meat we eat, right?
Absolutely. And I think you have to put the two protein sources side by side and look at, okay, what are the macro and micronutrients that I'm getting from a plant-based source of protein, right? There's no cholesterol. I'm getting so many more different types of nutrients in my body that I would not be getting from the animal-based source of protein. Plus, it's full of cholesterol. It's full of animal protein, which is not good for us anyway. So, yeah, it's so interesting. But I don't think that having plant-based meat is something you should be having every day anyway. Like, as it is, it's something you would have now and then. Yeah, you know.
Yes, just to taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to remember your past.
Yeah, exactly. So can people join your 21-day program who might have diabetes or cancer or some other lifestyle disease? Can they contact you guys?
For sure. They should look in our events section. We have our retreats once or twice a year only. And we also have smaller retreats. Not everyone can afford both the time and the money for a 21-day retreat.
Sure.
So we have 1-week retreats where you learn everything and then you go back home and do it. And anyone can join, and they just need to look at our website.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting.
Thank you.
Thank you.